Okay, welcome to another video on methods of finding the trend. We've already looked at the simple moving average. Here we are on the weighted moving average. And take note that in the simple moving average, it assigns what equal weight to the values. But with the weighted moving average, it's just an upgraded version of the simple moving average. Thus, instead of assigning equal weight to all observation as we've done in the simple average, the weighted moving average assigns greater weight to more recent data points, assuming they are more relevant to forecasting. So how do you find the trend by the method of weighted moving average? So if you have weighted moving average, is basically the weight times the value it corresponds to, plus if you have another weight times its values it corresponds to. So in that order. So depending on the number of weight given, so we have and when you are done, we divide it by the summation of the weight. So weight 1 plus weight 2 plus in that order plus the last weight given. Okay, so let's take an illustration and also take note that if the sum of the weight is given as what 1, ideally there's no need for us to divide everything because every number divided by 1 is given as the number itself. So if you have the summation of the weight given as 1, then your weighted moving average becomes just the weight plus in that order. Because at the end, when you divide, you are still getting the same answer you are getting. So let's take an illustration. For the following table, find the trend by the method of moving average. Assuming that a 3-yearly cycle is present with 0.5 for the most recent period, 0.3 for the second period back, and 0.2 for the third period back. So if you are to add the 0.5, 0.3, making 0.8 and 0.2, meaning that the summation of the weights here is giving us what? 1. So let's look at how we would go by this. We have the month and we have the sales. We have the 3-period weighted moving average. Because we are dealing with an odd number, so there's no need for us to find the centroid too. The first figure was 120, 135, 150, 165, 180, 170, and 160. So how do you find the 3-period weighted moving average? But they are saying that the recent data for the most recent period is taking 0.5. So for 3, you know that for 3 period, you are going to take the first 3, and the most recent data is for March. So how do you find it? And at the end, the trend values, because here that the trend values here is going to relate to the middle figure. That's the middle month, that's February. So we have 150. We multiply it by its weight, that's 0.5, plus 135 by the weight, 0.3, plus 120 times 0.2. Because here the weight is giving us 1, there's no need for us to even find the sum, because 0.5, 0.2, you can still, if you still want to divide, so everything here, all divide by 1. That's the summation of the weight. So now we have an answer of 0. That's 150 times 0.5 plus 130 times 0.3 plus 120 times 0.2, giving us 138. Also, take note that for the month of January, we have nothing there to, it's a dash. Okay, let's move on. The same ideology from the previous video. We drop the first one in pick, so we are going to start from 150 to 165. 135 to 165. So the most recent data becomes the April figure, that's 165. Also relating to the month of March. So we have 165 times 0.5 plus 150 times 0.3 plus 135 times 0.2, all divided by 1. That's the summation of the weight. So this one too, you are getting a trend value of 165 times 0.5 plus 150 times 0.3 plus 135 times 0.2, giving us a value of 154.5. Let's move on. So the next one is going to be for 150 to 180. 150 to 180. The most recent data is 180 times 0.5 plus 165 times 0.3 plus 150 times 0.2, also giving us all divided by 1. That's the summation of the weight. So 180 times 0.5 plus 165 times 0.3 plus 150 times 0.2, giving us a value of 169.5. 169.5. Let's move on. So we're also going to begin from 165 to, so 165 to 170, corresponding to the month of May. The most recent data is 170 times 0.5 plus 180 times 0.3 plus 165 times 0.2, all divided by 1. Everything divided by 1, also giving us 170 times 0.5. So we also have an answer of 172. 172. Okay, so we have one last. So from 180 to 160. The most recent data is 160 times 0.5. 170 times 0.3. 180 times 0.2 When we are done, we divide everything by the summation of the weight, which is 1. 160 times 0.5 plus 170 times 0.3 plus 180 times 0.2, giving us a figure of 167. 167. Meaning that for the last month, that's July 2, we have nothing there too. All right, now let's solve the second one where the summation of the weight. So we have 10 plus 6, 16 plus another 4 is giving us 20. So where the summation of the weight is more than 1, how do you go about this? Where the summation of the weight is more than 1. So let me clean this. All right. So also for the first month, January, we also have nothing. We also have nothing. Then for the first 3 months, we have 150, 135, and 120. The most recent data is 150. So it also relates to the middle one. We have 150 times 10. That's the weight. We have 135 times 6 plus 120 times 4. When you are done, we divide by the summation of the weight, which we had 20 is equal to, we have 150 times 10 plus 135 times 6 plus 120 times 4, which is giving us 2790 divided by 20, 139.5. We have 139.5. Okay, so now let's move on. We drop the first one, that's 120. Take the So the most recent data is 165. 165 times 10 plus 150 times 6 plus 135 times 4, all divided by the summation of the weight, which is 20. So we're going to get 165, 150 times 6, 135 times 4, 3090 divided by 20, giving us 154.5. All right, so let's move on. The next one is going to be for 150 to 180. 150 to 180. The most recent data is 180 times 10 plus 165 times 6 plus 150 times 4, all divided by 20. 180 times 10 plus 165 times 6, 150 times 4, all divided by 20. 169, 9.5. We also have from 165 to 170. 165 to 170. So the most recent data is 170. 170 times 10 plus 180 times 6 plus 165 times 4, all divided by 20. So 170 times 10, 180 times 6, and 165 times 4, all divided by 20, giving us 172. 172. Then lastly, we have from 180 to 160. The most recent data is 160 times 10 plus 170 times 6 plus 180 times 4, all divided by the summation of the weight, which is 20. Which is giving us 167. So basically for the last month too, there's nothing there. So this is how we go about using the weighted moving average method.